So this one's going to be interesting because in this video, I'm going to break down how we booked 22,911 qualified sales calls in the last 9 months for our clients combined. Now, what I'm going to go over is I'm going to go over the proof, and I'm going to show you where this number specifically comes from. Then I'm going to go over the process and the funnel. Then I'm going to go over the conversion rates behind making this all happen. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into booking almost 23,000 sales calls. So without any further fluff, let's dive right in. So 22,911. That is 2,500 roughly sales calls per month and around 84 sales calls, qualified sales calls per day. And we do all of this through just one single data-driven funnel, DM setters. If you're on this channel, you want to know more about DM setters, you know, that's all I do and that's all I talk about in this channel or on this channel. So as I said, I'm going to show you the proof and I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction here. If this is the first time you're on this channel, welcome. If you're a subscriber already, if this is the second or the third or the fourth video that you're watching, happy to have you back. I'm going to go over the funnel breakdown and then I'm going to do a deep dive into the KPIs. And again, I'm going to show you the benchmark conversion metrics that you can then take and implement into your business right after watching this video. So proof. My name's George Nizza. I've generated over $40 million in high ticket sales through DM setters in the last 3.5 years. I run my company, dmsetting.com, where we've worked with people such as Jeremy Miner, Paul Hilsey, Matt Gray, and many, many others. You can go on our website and you can kind of see some of the people that we're working with and some of the results that we're generating, like a $450K month, $57,000 days, $320,000 months, $200K months here, $1 million quarters basically here, etc., etc. You can pause the video and you can read through this if you want to see more of this. Now, where does the 22,911 come from? Because it's a very interesting and very specific number. So this is the sum of all the sales calls that we booked for all of our clients off dmsetting.com combined from September 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. So that is 9 months in total. Now, all those calls are coming from the one funnel that we implement for our clients, which is the DM setter funnel, which I'm going to walk you through right now. So now I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to show you the high level overview. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to zoom in and this is where we're going to start. So we're going to have a social media follower, typically Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We primarily work with Instagram. That's where we see the best conversions right now across all the other channels out there. And then once you have a follower, there's basically 2 different avenues that you're going to pursue to convert that follower into a DM conversation. The first one here is going to be outbound messages, right? That's where we reach out and we send messages to the new or the existing followers to initiate the conversation with them. Obviously, from here to a DM conversation, there's going to be some drop off, which we're going to cover in a second. The other avenue that you can take here is going to be the hand raiser posts or the stories, which are direct call to actions, free resources. I'm going to make a more in-depth video on this and show you guys specific examples of what works best and what really doesn't work that well. And to go a little bit further on this, when I say direct call to actions is the classic, like, hey, I'm looking for X amount of people that want to work with me more privately, more one-on-one, hands-on, etc., etc. And then free resources, then like guides, templates, Notion template, whatever you can share. That works incredibly well for generating a very large amount of conversations and getting those people to opt in to a DM conversation, which is really where the magic happens. So what we do here, once we have those leads or those people, those followers engaged in the DM conversation, is we're going to find their intent. It's like, hey, what has you reaching out? If it's a resource, like, what are you looking to get out of the resource? What are you looking, like, what's the information that you're looking to extract out of this? What's the why behind you opting in? If it's an outbound message, then we're the intent behind that is going to be, hey, what brings you over to my world? What brings you over on my profile, right? So we're always trying to find a little bit of intent because that's going to get them hooked, and that's how we're going to be able to create compliance and continue the rest of the conversation. From there, if we're dealing with a B2C offer or we're in a B2C environment where we're helping people make money, learn a skill, etc., then we're going to explain the business model right away. So the reason we do this, guys, we have the explanation of the business model in the beginning before getting into current situation, before talking about desired situation, all those different things, or before building what you may call like a gap or a pain, is I want to get them hooked and I want to get them sold into the business model ASAP. Why? Because that's going to give me compliance. What compliance is then going to give me is going to give me a higher response rate through every single other step of the funnel, of the process that I'm taking here at the DM. So we're going to find the intent. We're going to explain the business model. If it's B2C, if it's B2B, it's more of a B2B offer, coaching, coaches, etc. You don't really have to do this unless you have a very specific process that you're following. Then we're going to talk about their current situation. Again, for B2C, I'm just going to use the common, 9 to 5 right here as an example. We're going to talk about their work situation, what has them looking for a new avenue or a new source of income, or what has them looking to grow and explore potential new opportunity, right? So we find out their current situation, and then we find out their desired situation. Through this entire process, all this does, guys, is number one, it gets them sold right here on the opportunity. Again, if it's B2C, I'm going to talk a little bit more about B2C here, make it a little bit more B2C specific. Then it builds rapport and trust, which is the second thing that's like super important here, okay? Because again, the keyword here, guys, is compliance, right? We want to have compliance. So after we have their intent and we have their buy-in on the business model, we have their current situation, we have their desired situation. It's super easy at this point. We're pretty much going to move into a call proposal right here that I didn't really include in the framework. So the call proposal is going to take them down two paths, okay? So we're either going to have a volume play where we're going to maximize the output of calls booked because we have a huge amount of leads. So this works really well if you have, let's say, 500,000, 300,000, even a million, 2 million followers. This works incredibly well because we're just going to play the volume game. At that point, you're going to have 4 to 8 DM setters on your profile working tirelessly, pretty much 24-hour coverage, and they're going to handle this huge volume of leads. And again, we're going to play the volume game, and at this level, you're likely going to book anywhere between 30 to maybe even 50, 80 calls per day that are triage calls, okay? Not sales calls. So from here, we do a triage call, qualification call. This is typically a 15-minute over the phone conversation. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And then we progress them into a sales call. Okay, so we just covered a volume play. The other avenue here is going to be a quality play, okay? Where the goal of this is going to be to set up the closer or the sales team up for maximum success. We're going to optimize for very high show rates, very high close rates, typically 65%, and then you're between 30 to 35% are our benchmarks that we're seeing with our DM sets through this process right here. And what really allows this to happen is the financial qualification that we're doing over DMs. So we're very thorough here in terms of how we qualify and what we qualify on, and this is a very nuanced process. We're not just qualifying on like, hey, do you have X amount available to invest? We're more so looking at their profile. We're looking at where they're texting from, their location. We're obviously looking at the job and what they do for work and how long they've been doing it for. So it's a very nuanced process, and we have a very specific SOP that we follow here to really make sure that a lot of the people that we're going to move into a sales call are going to be financially vetted, okay, are going to be financially qualified. That's me trying to draw a dollar sign over there. So do the financial qualification after, and only after we know 100% they're financially qualified, we will book them for a sales call. From there, after we book them on a sales call, they will typically go prior to the booking through some sort of Typeform application that, again, kind of double checks finances or asks them about their financial situation. From there, once we get that application, we're going to confirm and we're going to double check they have the finances based on the answers in the booking form. So it's a very simple example here. If someone says, let's say we're selling, an $8,000 coaching program, and someone says, yes, I have access to, $8,000 to $10,000, but then their income is going to be less than $40,000 a year, we're going to go in and we're going to question that, okay? And we're going to double check that to make sure that they're not lying on the forms. That's our job as DM setters to do the qualification. And then we're just going to confirm, obviously, the appointment. They're going to show up. That's how we convert them into nice little dollars, okay, through the funnel. So this is pretty much what it looks like, and this is kind of how it works. Now, I want to walk you guys through the conversion rates because I think this is really going to be super interesting, especially if you're a data-driven guy like me. So 22,911 sales calls booked. I'm going to break down the conversion metrics behind it, specifically from outbound messages, because I think you're going to find this super interesting. So outbound message to DM conversation, we have a 21.18% response rate. So every 1,000 people that we message here, we're going to get 211, roughly maybe 212 that respond back to us and that engage in a conversation. From the DM conversation to the call proposal, we have a 21.23% conversion rate. So again, every 100 people that respond here, 21 or almost 22 would get a call proposal. From a call proposal to a qualified, okay, so qualified sales call book. This is not triages. This is just qualified on average off of the 22,000 here, qualified sales calls booked. We're going to have a 52.84% conversion rate. Again, super important here. So this is not triage and this is not qualification call. This is only qualified sales calls, okay? So if you account for triages and, like 2 steps or whatever, then obviously this is going to be significantly higher. But just qualified sales calls booked, we have 52.84%. From there, we have anywhere between a 62 to 65% show rate historically across all of our teams to our processes. So 62 to 65% show to the sales call. And from there, we have a 27 to 35% close rate here from the people that show to the sales call. Sometimes it's higher. Sometimes it might be a little bit lower. We typically don't see close rates below 25% from DM sets, especially when we follow this avenue right here and we do a quality play. And then obviously with triage, the close rates are significantly higher because they get so nurtured here on the triage call, and the compliance on the sales call then becomes that much higher. But again, that's a volume play. So from there, this is how we basically turn them into a deal closed, and that's how we make money. And that's the conversions right here. So I have them here. If you want to pause the video, you can note those down and you can kind of compare it if you're already doing DM setting to what your team is already doing, or you can just calculate this and see kind of how it compares. to what you're doing. And here's the interesting part, guys. So I don't have 100% clear, accurate data on this, but again, as I said, this is what most of our teams operate at, and I have like thousands and thousands of sales calls to prove this as far as conversion rates on show rates and close rate. And the only reason I'm sharing this is because I found it very, very interesting when I ran those numbers, because I haven't really looked at it this way. But with the average offer price point being roughly $6,500 here, in the last 9 months, it means we generated almost $25 million in revenue and about $13.7 million in cash, considering that 55% of this revenue is collected upfront based on, again, what we're pretty much seeing across all of our teams. Super interesting to see. I hope this was helpful so far and it's giving you a good idea of what those numbers need to look like or should look like for your team. And if you don't have a team yet, or if you have a team but your team is underperforming and you want to have a conversation with me about, possibly implementing this, I'll say this. So this works best if you have at least 80 to 100,000 followers, and obviously you have a proven product and a sales process. You likely have a sales team. You're converting at a healthy ratio right now. Obviously, needless to say, you are profitable and you're in a position where you can invest in the growth of your business. If you have all that and you want to chat to me about how you can make an extra $100,000 to $300,000 a month with a process that I shared above, and just have me and my team come into your business, basically implement this entire thing right here and decide kind of what avenue is best, then you can book a call with me below. There's a link in the description. We're going to do a funnel breakdown. We're going to do a metrics breakdown. We're going to discuss implementation. My intention here is just going to be to give you the most clarity possible. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys sticking to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.